Welcome to AuthorTube News, the podcast where we find the latest in publishing so you don't have to. My name is Carrow Brown.
And my name is Tamara Woods. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well.
We're back after a week of not being able to find anything, only to be buried under everything that happened after that. It literally makes no sense.
Oh, my goodness. What a time to be alive. 2020, this is not what you promised us.
Nope, it definitely isn't. But we actually had to take time before we started recording to go through all of the articles and decide on what we were going to talk about. There's a bunch of fun things that we have in here, but you've got a whole bunch of announcements that you want to go over, right, Tamara?
Oh, my goodness. So I am going to try to keep this as brief as possible. I'm going to be giving you some things that have been canceled and some things that have generated. And yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started because there's a bunch. So Boucheron, where murder is a capital crime, it is another mystery conference that has been canceled. But LA BookFest, an online bookish adventure, which is happening May 9th, that's going to be happening. And I have a link for that in the description. So if you want to check that out. Also, DVPit is going to be doing a free virtual writers conference for marginalized communities of authors and illustrators. They haven't nailed down the exact date yet, but you will be able to access this information. There's going to be workshops, micro content, and one of their focuses will be on community building and forging ongoing connections for, after the conference ends. So if you want to keep updated, there's a link in the description where you can sign up. Save the Cat had to cancel their first ever storytelling masterclass in LA, but instead they're going to be doing a 2-day, 3-course webinar. So there's a link for that if you want to sign up for it. I received an email from Ingramsparks, and basically it was a change of service alert. It was just an announcement to let people know that it's going to take a little longer to get their print-on-demand books. So U.S. orders for paperback books are estimated to print in 5 to 7 business days, and hardcover books are estimated to print in 10 to 12 business days. And as of April 24th, Rush and Express orders will be temporarily unavailable. And some hints that they're saying large orders take longer to process, so order those books as early as possible. And as well as hardcovers also take longer to print than paperbacks, so order them as quickly as possible. And titles must be in printable format and approved for production prior to placing your order, which that's just standard. And this isn't an announcement, but this was just something that I thought was interesting that I would share with y'all. I'm not going to go into grave detail, but there was an article in Oprah magazine that was called "After the RWA Controversy, Romance Authors Say Publishing Needs to Address Racism." And they interviewed folks like Alyssa Cole and Beverly Jenkins. And I thought that this was a really cool article, but I didn't want to go through point by point. I just figured it would be something if you're interested in, you should check it out.
I did take a gander at it, and I thought it was a fun read, and I would encourage you guys to take a look at it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got this mountain of stuff. Oh my goodness, where do we start?
Well, let's start with publishers switching to POD.
Okay, yeah. So I came across an article written by I'm not gonna lie, I usually stalk this guy's posts whenever he says something because he's been doing this for a really long time. And he did an article where he was talking about how publishers are starting to switch more to print on demand because of the way that the industry has changed over time. Before they used to, do a bulk order of books and then they would have those out, but if they didn't sell very well, then they would take up space on a storage shelf and things like that. And one of the things that he wrote in the article, and I'm just going to quote it real quick, is publishers are seeing for themselves that the higher unit cost may be real, but it is the reduction of waste, no returns, that are more effective use of cash because books aren't printed for future use, and the instant capture of perishable sales. So it's kind of an interesting stance because what they're looking at right now is the cost of doing print on demand versus the potential loss of sales, which would, either way, they're going to end up paying for this. And so they're considering to do print on demand a little bit more. And I guess the reason I think it's very interesting is that indie authors are doing this first, and they've been doing it for a little while. And publishers have been kind of on the fence about doing print on demand. Like some of these articles I found of, the first one that came up that I saw about the topic when I started researching it was back in 2016, but they go back even farther than that. So this is a decision that they've been kind of trying to figure out for a while, but with everything that's going on outside right now, they're definitely pursuing it a little bit more. And I just want to put it in the book of indies did it first and then the traditional people copied it kind of thing. But I mean, what are your thoughts, Tamara?
I just wonder if how this will affect indies and small publishers who rely on print on demand. Because if we're looking like, so for instance, right now, with all the things that's happening in the world, Ingramspark is going to be, it's going to take longer for them to process our orders. So if these bigger publishing companies start relying more on print on demand, with will they be outsourcing it? Will it be within their own walls? How will this work, and how will it affect us and our bottom lines and what we need to accomplish? And I think it's interesting too because with booksellers, I wonder how that will affect their ordering practices.
Oh, that's a really good point because before they used to do the bulk number thing. I mean, hmm, like,
And then, of course, if they weren't able to sell the book, then they'd have to send it back,
but
which
if,
would cut into the royalties, wouldn't it, of
yeah.
authors?
Yeah, so I guess, but now we don't even know what the state of bookstores are going to be right now either. So, and they're probably going to completely change their entire process. This
Wow,
2020, what are you doing to us?
man, what what a chain of thoughts there. Oh, geez. Well, this makes me think of things that booksellers shouldn't do. As I was perusing Twitter like I do 24/7, it's an addiction, it's a problem. I came across this tweet from Rin Chupeco. And if I just butcher that, I'm so sorry. Author of Wicked as You Wish. And they had posted, "Are authors who autograph books written by other authors actually a thing?" Because I just saw this happen in my book, and the optics of a white author autographing a person of color author's book and then using that as promotion doesn't look good to me, question mark. So I looked at that and I was like, this doesn't tell me enough information. So I went on a quest, and the author in question is named Mackenzie Lee. And Mackenzie had posted on her Instagram this call for readers who were ordering from King's English, a a bookseller, that they were doing a promotion that if they wanted to, they were ordering from a book from King's English, that Mackenzie Lee would sign the book for the reader. The thing was that it was anyone's book. It wasn't just Mackenzie Lee's books. It was anyone's, and there was no permission from the author, and she signed kind of obnoxiously big over the title page of a lot of books. And it just, I don't know, it just seemed like a really weird move. And apparently, of course, initially, um the bookstore did not issue any kind of, initially, of course, King's English did not issue any type of apology. They were tweeting people back who were disappointed with this, and they were saying, well, what should we not listen to our readers and what they want? And they were kind of poo-pooing what the authors who were against this were saying, until finally they did issue an apology. And they took full ownership of what had happened. Now, the weird thing was, I am not sure. I'm not sure where Mackenzie Lee actually issued an apology, but Ren had tweeted that she had, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm going to have a link for the some of the tweets in the description so that y'all can see how she kind of signed things. And the the page where she signed on Rin's book, one of the copies of her book, she drew like a witch and it's like fairly large. And it says, okay, I see it now. I'm in the wrong, wicked. And then she signed her name. Now, I wasn't sure, and I'm still not, if this was like the quote unquote apology to Rin or if this was just what she'd written to a reader who had like taken a shot and like sent it to Rin. I'm not sure, but I just found it really weird. I find all of this to be odd, and I don't understand why they decided that it would be a good idea to have someone else sign like other copies from man, that just seems like a bad look.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, if somebody had done that to one of my books, I would definitely have conflicting feelings about it. My first reaction, like, who are you to be going around and signing my books kind of thing? Because that's not just a book, like that's my book baby. I am slightly possessive over it and the way it's treated to an extent. And then adding in all these other factors that you're discussing, I'd probably be pretty livid. I'd be really upset. And I hope that this apology, wherever it was sent and shared, what conveyed enough that, because I saw that picture that you're talking about with the obnoxious witch that said, "Okay, I'm in the wrong," and if I had not actually spoken to this person and like seen their face while they're speaking to me, and then that was the apology that they would have sent me, I would have just started burning stuff down. I really would have.
Yeah, it seems tone deaf, and I just, gosh, I mean, as an author, you work very hard on your books, and and she knows that. Like that's I guess that's why I'm insulted on behalf of these other authors. Like, you know how much time and effort and work that goes into a book. And wouldn't you have been upset if someone had signed your books? Even if it is like supposed to be some type of, uplifting thing, maybe a funny joke or whatever, why not do it on a nameplate or a bookmark or anything other than the actual book itself? And Mackenzie Lee, she's already had controversies in the past where she, on the back of her book, I cannot recall the name offhand because I am a terrible person and I did not write it down. But on the back of the book, at the end of last year, she had dead named and misgendered a trans character. And of course, yeah. So there's already kind of controversy associated with her. And I feel like the reading community doesn't forget things. So when you already have been like under scrutiny for dubious things and then another thing comes up, it just like, it's like that whole thing catches fire all over again. So,
Yeah, the internet forgets like nothing either. So if you make one mistake, especially right now, it's been screenshotted. People are going to remember. And anytime somebody wants to relive the moment, they can just go and it's a Google search away.
and true facts. So what do y'all think? Let us know in the comments. And I'm interested to know, what do you think about the print on demand thing too? Do you think that if publishers start using print on demand, is it going to change how indies move in these circles, or is it going to change how booksellers are going to have to do things? Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, and if you happen to be a bookseller and you have the answers to these questions, I'd love to talk to you. Please reach out to us so we can get some answers.
True. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Since we're still talking about books, there's been a lot of interesting conversations about, things that are essential lately, right? We've
Mm.
got, grocery stores are essential. The people who take our trash away, they're definitely essential. And a little while ago, there was a hashtag that was prompted by publishing industries. It was called hashtag books are essential, right?
Hmm.
And interestingly enough, two agents rose their heads and they decided to have an argument that books were not essential. And of course, like me being an avid reader and a writer, it made my head whip up. And I was like, excuse me? So I was reading the article and they were basically talking about how, in regards to the term essential, um, about how it's not fitting the definition that is being applied to right now. And I feel like I'm reading off the quotes of the article, but I want to read this quote that they made about the term essential when it's applied to books. And it's the term essential is used to describe workers who perform labor that provides our society with fundamental services to survive. It refers to healthcare workers, grocery store employees, trash collectors, and others who do the jobs that keep us safe, clean, and alive. And so their argument at the end of this was basically that books aren't essential, and I have very strong thoughts. I have very strong thoughts on that, um, because when you're isolated and you're trying to keep yourself busy, I mean, you go to hobbies, you go to books, you go to a lot of things. So while I guess I kind of understand what they're saying, I would counter argue that if you want people to stay out of trouble, give them something to read.
I think that personally speaking, I'm going to just, talk about my own experiences. Um, I find that I need books in times of crisis so that I can have something to focus on and a world that I can immerse myself in that is different than whatever dumpster fire that I'm trying to avoid thinking about at the moment. And this has been a lifelong thing for me. And it was one of the things that made me want to be a writer and to offer other people that kind of reprieve. I feel that saying that reading is not essential, or that books are not essential, is kind of a short-sighted way of doing things. And I'm I don't know. I'm not sure that I understand why this definition has to be so narrow for for the reader, or for the book, whereas there's fast food places that are open, and I would argue that maybe fast food is not essential. Ooh,
Gonna start some fights there, Tamara. They're coming
fight
for you.
me.
Fisticuffs at dawn. Yeah, but no, I do agree with you. I think I think that their approach to understanding what's essential and not essential is maybe that it's debatable. I'll just say it that way. I don't essentially agree with what they're saying just because I like Tamara, like I have been reading like a mofo and I have been playing video games like a mofo because if I'm doing that, I'm not thinking about everything else, and that's sometimes how I cope. So there's that. But I actually, because we're talking about things that help us cope with like what's going on, right? And so before we actually went live on the podcast, I subjected Tamara to something that I'm gonna put in the video because it was so glorious, and she was laughing so much that I was like, we have to put it in the video just for giggles. And Google, or not Google, Amazon is doing like these little meditation things, right? Or these read-alongs and a whole bunch of other things. And the first one that popped up for me was meditation by Diddy.
Oh my gosh, P Diddy, bad boy for life. Wow.
And he did a meditation, and I had Tamara listen to it with me for a little bit. It was a guided meditation to give me the sleep that I deserve. And I just thought that this was amazing. And I just want you guys to at least go to the link and listen to the 30-second promo because it was beautiful.
It really was a delight. I laughed the hardest I've laughed all day. It was, oh my gosh, P. Diddy, come on. Sean Puffy Combs, just get out. How dare you?
But is
And
it
also, I've never thought that his voice sounded particularly relaxing. Like, I always thought he sounded like he had, like, I don't know, something in his mouth, like he's trying to talk around stuff.
mhm.
And that just is, it's not, it's hilarious, but I don't find it actually relaxing.
But we could be wrong. That link's down below. Go listen to it. Give us like a scale rating of 1 to 5. Do you feel relaxed? Do you want to rap? Like, let us know. I have questions.
Oh my gosh, please let it be that in the middle he like starts just rapping about being relaxed.
I almost want to go back and listen to it because I just kept
Oh
expecting him to drop a beat at some point. I'm like, I'm so conflicted. What's happening?
my gosh. He's gonna start beatboxing. Wow. I just saved y'all from me trying to freestyle something. So you're welcome. That would have been terrible.
I know that wasn't writing related, but I had to share it with you guys. Oh.
I mean, sometimes you need a laugh. Sometimes you just need a laugh. All right. So I guess I'll bring it back to something that's not so funny. So Publishers Weekly is launching hashtag ReadIndie Campaign. And we thought this was a really good one because if you are an indie or if you are someone who likes to read indie books, then this is definitely something for you. Of course, it's in response to the whole thing, everything that's going on right now. And they are joining with a group of indie publishers, organizers, and trade magazines to launch hashtag Read Indie. So basically, it's going to be a thing that happens specifically at May 4th, 12:30 p.m. Eastern / 9:30 a.m. Pacific, and you were supposed to flood your social medias with common messaging and graphics around hashtag Read Indie to bring maximum awareness to the campaign. And this is like Kirkus Reviews, book page, the Community of Literary Magazines and Presses, the IPG or Independent Publishers Group. These are some pretty big organizations that are going to be involved in this. And I think that it could be potentially a good way to, show your support for indies and maybe find some new indies to check out.
And if you're looking for some books by indie authors that you want to help promote and you've run out of your friends to talk about, if you go to our past episodes, we basically promote an indie book that's come out pretty much every month or two. So,
Oh, yeah. And we probably have some lists later in this podcast. So, stay tuned.
okay, so that brings us to, so we talked about essentials, we talked about POD, I talked about Diddy. So this is kind of writing related, this next topic, but it's kind of not. I wanted to share it because I was a little concerned about how this actually went down, and I wanted to bring awareness to it because okay, I'm just gonna explain it. So on April 27th, Disney Plus came out with a tweet, and the tweet was celebrate the saga, reply with your favorite Star Wars memory, and you can see it somewhere special on May the 4th. And then at first it's like, oh, hey, that's really cool, right? Except they had a following tweet, and the following tweet was by sharing your message with us using hashtag May the 4th, you agree to our use of the message and your account name in all media and our terms of use here. And they have like a really extensive thing that's in there. And part of that is basically anything that you say they can use in anything, right? They basically say it's not yours anymore and it's theirs and they can do with it whatever they want.
Wow. So if they wanted to use it in an advertising campaign, they could use it. If they wanted to put it on a poster, they can use it. Like they can literally just use it wherever they want.
Yeah, that was the thing that got me a little bit. And I didn't have the same knee-jerk reaction that a lot of other people had. Like some people saw this and they definitely had things to say. I looked at it and I just kind of arched an eyebrow and I was like, Disney's being Disney, because that's kind of how it feels to me right now. But if you really think about it, it's it's really weird. Like at one point I had to go and look it up because I was like, that doesn't actually legally sound right. Disney's going on to another platform and basically saying anything that's posted on this platform with this hashtag is now ours. There's two things that don't make sense with that. One, nobody owns this hashtag. May the 4th has been around for a very long time. It's been around since Disney had the rights to Star Wars. So for them to basically say anything with this hashtag is now ours, that you can't do that. That's a public domain thing. And then the other thing is that if you actually go look at the TOS for Twitter, it basically says anything that you tweet is your own content. Now, there was an article that was written about by the BBC, and they actually quoted an IP lawyer who's named Aaron Wood, and he works over at Keystone Law. And I want to actually read his comment. I'm just reading comments all day today, Tamara.
It's
Um,
okay.
I'm here. I'm here to read the comments. Due to the popularity of the hashtag, it was unlikely Disney's tweet would have been seen by everyone who used it. It is a little risky and presumptuous that all tweets copying them in with the hashtag will have read their terms or know about them, he told BBC. Twitter's policy states that users own the unique content they post on the social media service. So I don't know who's in charge of the Disney Plus Twitter, or like I don't want to come out and basically say that like their law team is like not understanding of this, but like this seems like a really rookie move to me to have somebody come out and basically say, "Ah, your tweets are ours." Like, no, it doesn't work that way.
That's wild to me because I have always tweeted about May the Fourth be with you. I've like and shared something on Facebook for so long, because I love Star Wars, and I love puns. So, I'm coming for it. So, and I wouldn't have known about their tweet if you hadn't have talked about it.
Yeah,
I would
and
have no idea.
yeah, and can you and like not everybody follows Disney Plus, and lots of people are big avid Star Wars fans, so they would have come out and been like, "Hey, here's my picture of me and my son celebrating May the 4th." And according to Disney, they would have had rights to that picture to use it however they wanted. Like there's so much wrong with how this went down. And then they tried to redact it by stepping back and basically saying, like, "Oh no, we didn't quite mean it like that." And I'm like, are you telling me that Disney, who is full of professionals who went to fancy colleges and have very impressive degrees, didn't know what they were writing in a tweet that's composed of 260 characters? Like, you're not fooling me. Like, you've got like a bunch of money in these teams who are all composed to make sure that they do stuff that gets reactions. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. I'm sure it was an attention grab. But I guess the thing that bothers me about it, it feels like they don't know how social media works, and how even like things like, May the 4th, how that works, and how people use hashtags to connect and to share things. And it could have been a great way to market without having to actually market things. And then, if you see a tweet that would work in a future thing, like contact them and let the person know and work something out like you would any other time, as opposed to just grabbing it and moving on and saying, well, hey, it's ours because we said so.
That was and again, I know some people are like, what does this have to do with publishing? I'm just saying that if you write something and you've got this big company that says that that's ours now, like what are we supposed to do about that? You know what I mean? Like how do we fight Disney? Like you uh
And I would argue that this is an example of bad marketing. I would argue that even though we have smaller platforms, that we could still utilize that same thing, right? We can create a hashtag and we can be like, hey, share this all over the place, XYZ. But just know that when you do that, you still don't own the content.
mhm.
The creator owns the content.
And that's such a weird thing that I've actually kind of noticed that people are trying to do, where they're either trying to say that's mine. Like I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a person who wrote in a genre, and I can't, it was something fundamental like mates or something like that that was like really like prevalent in that trope. And she was trying to say, well, this is mine, so nobody else is allowed to use it without doing a copyright infringement. And that went to court and that got turned down because the judge was like, no, you can't do that. But it's so weird that
That's Cockygate.
oh,
That
Cockygate.
was Yeah, that was like the impetus for me wanting to create this podcast.
Oh, okay.
Be- yeah, because I had so many thoughts for that. And remember how we were doing research constantly about RWA?
Mhm.
That's what I did with Cockygate. I have like a huge amount of information that I didn't do anything with. And I was like, I don't think this would fit on my channel necessarily. I want to talk about these things. So, how do I make a thing where I can talk about these things? So,
But yeah,
hence the brain was born.
okay, but but I mean, you get what I'm saying. It feels like this is like a trend that needs to go away.
Yeah, it's definitely a what I would call a bad trend, and it's not very well thought out. It's
Yeah.
not thought out. But let us know down in the comments. What do you think? Also, are you going to be posting something cool for May the 4th?
Are you gonna use the hashtag? We have questions.
So here we go to something that is not as pleasant at all. So since a lot of us are, social distancing, we're at home, one of the ways that people are connecting is through Zoom. A lot of educators are using Zoom in order to teach classes, and there's been a lot of controversy behind that. I'm not sure if y'all are aware, have been keeping up with it, but I started noticing a really negative trend in about the end of March. And I didn't really say anything about it, even though I do know that there are author tubers and other folks who use Zoom, but I didn't know how much it was actually affecting the author community. And then Danielle Clayton tweeted about it, and she said when she was doing a school visit, students would unmute to call her the N word, and they were verbally attacking the teacher and calling the teacher fat until she burst into tears. And it was an absolute horror show. And as I was reading through that thread, there was many other people who were agreeing and talking about their experiences as well. And I think that you can, if you like Google Zoom bombing, you'll find a lot more articles about this. But I have one article listed in the description in case you want to look at it. So Zoom bombing, basically, it seems to have a very racist overtone to it, where kids will post swastikas all over the screen. They post like sexually explicit photographs. They'll, again, with the N word drops, whether it's on screen or verbally. I think that we all recognize that there's a lot of people who feel very emboldened when they're behind the keyboard. But this is kind of a trolling that goes to a different kind of level. And fortunately, Zoom has tried to address this, and they do have information about how to keep uninvited guests out of your Zoom event. And I have that blog post linked in the description as well so that you can be aware. But I just kind of wanted to broach this topic because I feel like I haven't seen it being addressed within the AuthorTube community, but a lot of people are using Zoom.
This kind of it's following the same discussion, but it reminds me of when I used to be in the military and I used to do work as one of the military police, and we hated summer vacation. We hated it because that's when the kids on base would get bored, and that's when they would try and find ways to amuse themselves. And one of the things that I recall when I used to actually teach is that depending on like what age group you're working with, kids want to get a reaction, and they want to get a reaction because one, they're not going to have consequences for it, and two, they're bored. And I think that the fact that this is like the reoccurring behavior, like this disturbs me like fundamentally, and I have a lot of thoughts on the subject, but this isn't really the podcast for it. But I just kind of wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, definitely. I am sure that a lot of it is just students who are bored, but there's also I don't know if this is addressed in this particular article that I posted, but I saw where there were like Reddit groups where people were getting together to mass attack, whether it was classrooms or like speakers, and to basically just be totally disruptive and like destroy any type of educational process or sharing of information. And some of it is kids, but some of it is grown adults who, for whatever reason, think that this is appropriate behavior, which I find even more frustrating. Like, if a teen is being a jerk, all right, teens are jerks. But when it's an adult attacking adults, it feels very different for me.
Yeah, that's definitely some bigoted behavior that, and it goes back to the consequences thing too. They do it because they can. If anybody kind of hangs out on Tamara's stream, or live stream, and you see that I happen to go into like avatar mode, like I know like Tamara's shaking her fist at me because I'm behind my avatar and I get a little more rowdy than I normally would if my face was there. Um, yeah.
Yeah, Avatar Carrow is actually a thing.
And it's like that, but it's just taken to an nth degree. And I remember like I feel like I'm being nostalgic. I remember when trolls, like being a troll, was just something that was in the gaming community in general. And those would be your typical asshats that would either come and like kill your party or just be obnoxious as all get out. And if for the longest time that was dominantly in the gaming thing, and then it kind of spread out into everything else because it goes back to the whole consequences and keyboard warriors and all this other stuff. I'm losing a little bit of faith in humanity that in a time of crisis that one of the things that people do is that they just go out and find ways to like maliciously attack other people. Like, this is really not the time for that shit.
It's really not. It's so inappropriate. Oh my gosh. And it's exhausting to have to try to not only figure out how to be a distance teacher when this was never part of your plans, you know, you're not trained in this, you're just basically learning by fire. And then to have people who come in and disrupt in such a way that's like harmful. It's harmful. It's not funny. Any students who are sitting here and watching this could be potentially like damaged. It's not a good joke.
What are your guys' thoughts on it? I mean, obviously you can hear how we feel about it in the tone of our voice and things like that, but part of the reason that we do make this podcast is to hear what you have to say about it. So feel free to share those 2 cents down below. I guess if you're okay, I can try and change the subject to something a little more lighter.
Please and thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and actually talk about an article that Stevie sent us. Stevie is one of our supporters that's both on this channel and she frequents our live streams. And she came out with a book recently. We announced it in the last podcast. And the article that she sent us goes over about how the beverage bug that is out and about right now is kind of changing the way that readers are engaging with reading itself. And obviously it's no surprise that bookstores are having a consequence of people not going to the store and buying the books. But what I really like about this article, Stevie, is that there's analytics, there's data, there's a graph. I love graphs.
Oh boy.
So one of the first things that obviously, and some of you are gonna be like, duh, I knew that was gonna come, is that readers are actually turning more towards ebooks, which if you listen to our last podcast, we talked about how readers wanted more physical books. Y'all changing too fast. We can't keep up with this. Um,
Oh, we try. We try.
we try so hard. But so readers are obviously turning more towards ebooks because it's easier for them to get a hold of both on online stores and at libraries, and audiobooks are also on the rise as well. Let me see.
Which seems to be consistent. At least that part's consistent in what we've been reading and have talked about prior.
Yeah. So the love of audiobooks continues to be on the rise. So at least that's still consistent. Thanks, friends. But yeah, so libraries are talking about how they're getting more digital rentals. They're talking about how more people are renting out the audiobooks. And then they also kind of dived into like how readers are using these books in order to cope, right? Because we had that discussion at the start of the podcast, which I like how that's all come to full circle here. Um,
Hmm. It's almost like we planned it.
I know, right? Right. So they talk about how like all kinds of books are being used as well. And I thought that that information was really interesting because you've got your fiction, you've got your nonfiction, and the interesting thing is that they said that the sales for books for kids, especially for nonfiction of learning books, has like skyrocketed in response to the school closure. So anything about teaching and education, those guys are making money.
No doubt. So if you have some books that fit into that niche, now's the time to push it. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah. And especially if you've got like a good background in that kind of thing, so you've got like some credibility to what it is that you're talking about. But like I guess for me, I love that when people need something, the one of the things that they go to is actually two books. I think that that's amazing.
And I think that it's important to, again, to recognize how important reading and books are to people, and not just to us who are avid readers and writers.
It's almost like they're essential. Hmm.
Hmm.
There is a lot more to this article that I really did enjoy, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys like the overall snippet of it, and it'll be down below so that way you can go and read it as well. Like I said, there's percentages, there's statistics, there's a graph. I really love this article, Stevie. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yes, yes. Stevie Rae Causey. So go check out her books.
And that brings us to talking about other people's books because we've moved into the segment of
AuthorTube News Shout Outs.
So the first one that we're going to talk about is by Talia Morgan, and this one has a very special place in my heart, even though this story makes me squirm in ways that I don't usually like to squirm in. This is my writing wife. She came out with a short story. It's called Helping Hands. It's an erotica. It's already come out the other day, but it is there. It's available in Amazon Kindle and in paperback if you want. And the tagline for it is, "The heart knows what it wants, but is that always a good thing?" So super excited about it. I got to kind of like help beta read this and give some feedback. So knowing it's out into the world right now, it's like a little special place in my heart. Thank you. It's even dedicated to
Aww.
me.
So if you want to read that dedication and squirm in ways that you're not comfortable with.
That's a thing. Go for it. It's in the link down below.
And our second person for today is Patricia Josephine. And Patty, has attended hashtag Write Stuff, my writing tweet chat for literal years. And I'm so excited to see that all the things that she has to offer the world. And this one is it's called A Quick Bite. It's a paranormal, and the tagline is "Sink your teeth into 45 quick tales about vampires, werewolves, and zombies." And that launch date is May 11th, and it's available on Amazon, Smashwords, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, and iTunes. That link also will be in the description.
So we have another book. It's by Joey Paul, and it is called Lights On. It is a YA dystopia sci-fi. It's coming out on the 12th, and you will be able to find it. It's a wide distribution, so you'll find it pretty much everywhere: Google Play, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, so on and so forth. The tagline for it is Locke and Clara are running for their lives. Haley is trying to start a revolution, and Lana is trying to save her skin. The lights out world is heating up.
I wonder if that's part of a series.
Is it? Let's go find out. We're clicking on the link while we find out for you guys. So this is actually the second book after we've gone and checked it out. So if you are looking for... Oh, wait, this is Joey, like our Joey.
Yeah, it's Joey.
Oh, wow, like, I don't know why that didn't click. Oh, my goodness.
Carrow.
I'm sorry. I'm an avatar person. I need to see an avatar with the name. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, my goodness. Joey, congrats. Ah, this is so cool. I'm just going to go ahead and buy this now.
Joey's a fellow author tuber. If you can't tell.
Wow, Joey actually has a lot of stuff out. Like, I'm just creeping on Joey's thing. Okay, we need to end this so that way I can come back and like go through her stuff later.
Whoa, all right. Well, hey, we have a podcast that's not 20 minutes long like the last one. Swinks.
Yeah, this should be a nicely sized one. So, which who knows what's gonna happen, because we either have lots of news right now or we have no news. So, well, who knows what the next few weeks is gonna bring.
But of course, if you have any news, share it with us. We have our Gmail and our Twitter down in the description. And if it's something that works for us, then we will talk about it and we'll, give you a shout out and a thank you.
But that is going to bring us to the end of the podcast, friends. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that you enjoyed what we had to say about these topics. Again, leave those comments down below so we can see what you're thinking, have a conversation with you. And yeah, I think we should just go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah. So, and of course, if you have something that you are releasing soon, you have a launch that's happening soon, let us know. That link is also in the description.
Okay, so we'll talk to you guys real soon. Please be safe, keep social distancing, wash your hands, all that goodness.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. We're waving. You can't see. Wave. Love us.
I'm not waving. I
Love
refuse
us.
to wave.
Love
I
us.
still love me.
Love
Love me.